Hey y'all, I just want to pop in here and have a conversation about this whole Lindsay Clancy case. Now, if you guys didn't know, there's this big case that's been going around. I think this actually happened in like 2023 or something like that, where this mom strangled three of her children. She jumped out the window, and yeah, they're claiming that she was in postpartum psychosis and all this other stuff. And it's a whole mess. The doctors were hyping her up on all sorts of drugs, and that whole part of the case I think is very crazy and interesting at the same time. But it's not so much about the case that I want to talk about because it's pretty cut and dry. She admitted to doing it. Everyone admitted to her doing it. Like, there's no real wiggle room to say that she didn't do it because, the broad is saying, yes, I did that. And as far as like the drugs and all the stuff that she was on, I don't feel like I'm qualified enough to really look at, the drugs she was taking and the interval she was taking it in to really give a full analysis on that. So I'm going to put a pin in that. However, I want to talk about the broads that have come out on these here internets to basically say that they understand why she killed her kids. And, I'm laughing, but it's not funny. It's actually very disturbing. When you hear something that's just so disturbing that you get that uncomfortable laugh, like that's what I'm experiencing right now. Because what do you mean you understand? You have small children in your care right now, and you're telling me that you understand. Men, I need you guys to take heed, okay? Take heed. If your broad is saying she understands Lindsay Clancy and y'all are dating, engaged, married, child on the way, children in tow, take note and protect your babies. Because what do you mean you understand a broad that murdered three children of her own? Not even just like murdered three children, but her own babies. It's sickening to me. The amount of mental gymnastics these broads are taking to justify offing their offspring. And I want you guys to understand the reason why they're doing this is because they want to be able to get off scot-free if they engage in those type of behaviors. That's why they're coming out in droves trying to advocate for it. It's not about, we just want you guys to care about mental health of women. We want you, because if that was the case, they wouldn't be writing off the behavior. They would be focused on, like I said, the doctors that were prescribing her all these different things. They would be, focused on therapy and how that failed her, or, things like that. That's what they would focus on. But no, they want to find some way to blame the husband who was out running an errand for the broad, mind you, running an errand, and then came home to his children murdered. They want to find a way to blame him for it because he looks mean or because he moved on with his life. Not meaning that he moved on from the death of his children, but he found another woman, and I don't know, I think they have kids now, but I know they're married. But they just want to find some way to blame the man. Women want to infantilize themselves until it's time to vote. Y'all will sit over here and do this, I'm just a girl act. Y'all will sit over here and do it's not my fault because, and then insert XYZ. Y'all want to sit over here and excuse yourself of any accountability when you do things that are effed up, or when other women do things that are effed up. But in the same breath, you want to say, I'm a woman, see me roar, I'm just as good as a man is, and all this other stuff, but you don't want to take accountability the way men take accountability. When men off their children, when men off their wives, when men do crazy stuff like that, there is no conversation about mental health. There's no, oh my God, we understand you. No, it's get your ass to the guillotine and get your head cut off. Like, that's all it is. It's death penalty, and that's it. There's no, oh my God, let's try to see it from his perspective. Like, we don't do that when a man commits an atrocious crime like killing his family. So I don't understand why we as women want a double standard with offing the kids. Like, what are we talking about here? We don't want the same accountability that men get. Men don't get the same grace that we get when things go awry, when we do things that we're not supposed to do. It's very seldom. It's very seldom that you will see a man get sympathy or empathy when he does something effed up. Y'all don't want to hold the bag. Y'all want to be leaders. But then if hits the fan, you're going to blame all the men on board the ship and not yourself, even though you're the so-called leader. I can't stand how we infantilize ourselves, but then when men infantilize us, we want to get mad. Like y'all get offended when men say, oh, you know, she can't do that because she's a woman, da 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 da. But then when you say it, because I'm a woman, da 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 da, it's somehow empowering when you say it about yourself. But when others say it about you, then it's disrespect. Like, I'm gonna need us to make up our mind. Are we infantilized or are we strong women? Hear us roar. We're independent. We can do our thing. Da 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 da. So the way these women are infantilizing themselves for this case, and you know, I'm doing the weave. Okay, I'm weaving it back to the original topic. The way these broads are infantilizing women as a whole, as if there aren't things that we can do to mitigate our mental health, to take care of it, to prevent harm. Well, we just lost control. She just lost control. It's not her fault. She lost control. Can't you see? Oh my God. Well, if you're saying that women, we just can't keep it together. We can't control ourselves. What you are arguing for is extreme patriarchy. Y'all are literally arguing for Sharia law. I want you guys to understand that. When you tell the general population that women can't control themselves, understand you're asking for us to be controlled, because if we can't self-regulate, we will be regulated. And whether or not she had postpartum psychosis is neither here nor there. What she did was reprehensible in every way, shape, or form. And she needs to serve out the consequences of her actions. And if we want to have a conversation about holding the doctors accountable, I am all for that. If we want to have a conversation about postpartum depression and the different things that come with that, I'm fine with that conversation, especially as a woman that has experienced postpartum depression and birth trauma with my first baby. I understand that aspect. But does that give me the green light or the okay to harm my children? No, it doesn't. Regardless of what you got going on as the parent, you are the protector. You are supposed to protect your kids, not harm them. Whatever it is that you got to do, whether it's getting your kids the F away from you in the hands of safe family members so that you can get your mental together, then that's what you got to do. Or maybe you can't get your mental together and you need to just stay as far away from your kids as possible. Whatever it is that you got to do to make sure your babies see another day of life, that's what you do. But what we're not going to do is write off this behavior, this action, and just say, oh my God, she shouldn't be held accountable because XYZ. Oh my God, it was the husband. Even though every single piece of evidence is pointing towards the broad effing did it. She even admits to doing it. I do want to make an honorable mention to all the crazy heifers getting on here, mind you, holding their baby, talking about some, I understand, Lindsay, the way I would file for custody if I was the father, the way I would run to divorce court if I was the father. What you mean you understand? Get your hands off my baby. I'm gonna need you to get your hands off my baby, talking about you understand, Lindsay. And then not only that, you had these crazy broads doing all this weird screaming and throwing themselves out the window and throwing ice in the bathtub. Y'all, when my brother-in-law told me about that, I was so confused. He had to tell me a few times. Like, he had to explain to me a few times what these women were doing, because it just did not compute. What do you mean they're throwing ice in the bathtub to show their support for Lindsay Clancy? What? So y'all set up the camera. This is why I don't take like crash outs on the internet unless like you're doing like a live stream and it's a build up to emotion. That's one thing. I can't take you seriously if you're having an emotional breakdown and you set up the camera to film yourself doing something unhinged and then you're sitting there screaming while you're throwing ice into the shower. No, I don't take that part of it seriously, but I do take the part about getting your kids as far away from you very seriously. I do think that we can, make lemonade out of these lemons. Meaning, this is a great question that you can ask. Okay, you can use this to vet, just like women get to ask, what's your stance on Andrew Tate? We can ask other women, hey, what's your stance on this? And if you are a married couple and y'all are fine, you have kids, or maybe you're not married and y'all got kids and y'all doing your thing and you want to get a nanny, check them social medias to see if the nanny is in support of this bitch. Check any provider that's going to be around your children. And if they are supporting this case and saying, oh my God, I understand. If they're saying this, understand, keep them away from your kids at all costs. I'm talking nannies, I'm talking school teachers, I'm talking doctors, pediatricians, all of that. Keep them the F away from your kids because they're psychopaths and they're ticking time bombs ready to explode. But y'all, I am curious to hear you guys' thoughts down below. How do you feel about this whole situation? If you leave something crazy saying you understand why she did it, understand we're all gonna judge you. And I might just have to report you to the FBI. I don't know. CPS. Thank you guys so much, and I will see y'all with the next one. Deuces.